One of the largest subsoil remediation projects in Europe commenced in 2012 in the Three-Border region close to Basel. Residues from the Lindane production and construction waste deposited from the production building directly at the French banks of the Rhine and at the Swiss border were excavated under stringent safety precautions. The excavation area itself covered an area of over 50,000 square meters and was completely roofed over with permanently installed excavation halls and one sliding hall. The hall construction comprised steel girders with a length of up to 22 meters rammed into the ground. The actual girder lengths were adapted to the required excavation depth. Two multi-stage air purification plants ensured an adequate pressurization in the halls and an efficient purification of the contaminated hall air. The emissions of the air purification plants were continuously monitored via two measuring systems with gas chromatographs. Emission measurements were continuously carried out directly at the construction site outside the halls and in the areas surrounding the site. A central water purification plant was provided for the purification of the surface water on roofs and streets, for the groundwater from the anti-surge device, and for the water from the locks and the soil washing plant. One of the main halls was disengaged twice from the vacuum system during the excavation and moved completely. After sealing and connecting to the hall vacuum system, excavation was restarted in the new roofed-over area. The main pollutants found in addition to lindane were various other isomers of hexachlorocyclohexane, HCH, chlorobenzene and benzene. The formerly produced product, including byproducts, was found partially in pure form and as HCH concrete. A total of 800,000 tons of contaminated soil was excavated and to a large extent underwent thermal disposal. 80,000 tons of concrete were broken up, crushed and, depending on the degree of contamination, either disposed of or reused. The material had to be sieved and broken up for thermal disposal. The excavation was carried out with specially equipped construction machines that ensure an air-independent supply and that are equipped with modified motors to withstand the aggressive hall air. All activities in the halls and locks and the loading on ships was continuously monitored by several cameras. The machine personnel were able to access the equipment cabin of the construction machines via docking stations, specially developed for this purpose. After the failure of an initial remediation attempt, the consortium ZÜBLIN was commissioned with the overall new planning and execution of the entire remediation. The old halls of the first remediation attempt can be seen in the picture. These had to be completely roofed over again and sealed. The protective clothing comprising a special protective suit with breathing system was put on and taken off in the so-called black-white lock. All employees who worked in the contaminated areas participated in a biomonitoring course. Over 65,000 tons of the contaminated material was successfully washed by on-site soil washing. The washed gravel layer, the light-colored gravel shown here, was reused on site. The highly contaminated material was packed in drums via a drum filling plant. The material that was not middle contaminated was loaded into a container. The container was moved into the contaminated or so-called black area via a special container lock, and after loading it was cleaned and moved out again. The reach stacker transported the containers to the truck for loading after leaving the lock. The waste was transported directly by truck or rail to over 10 incineration plants throughout Europe. Most of the soil that required disposing of was transported by ship. The contaminated material was loaded onto the ship via a box feeder and a conveyor belt system. Both the loading and the entire interior of the halls were monitored by cameras. Outside the halls, loading was carried out via the conveyor belt and loading bridge. The material was transferred to the ship via a specially developed trunk that adapted to the side-to-side movements of the ship and was equipped with diverse safety equipment. The entire loading system was operated with vacuum in the same manner as the ship itself, so that no contamination could leak to the outside. On completion of the excavation, all the halls and foundation parts, the loading infrastructure and the waste air and groundwater purification plants were dismantled. The successfully remediated site was handed over to the client.